Morning, everyone. Welcome to Falkirk Council Planning Review Committee on October the 6th, 2025, held in the Educational Centre, Abbots Road, Grangemouth. In accordance with Section 43 of the Local Government and Scotland Act 2003, will allow attendance of members online. There'll be no members online, maybe officers. This meeting has been streamlined on Falkirk Council Committee's YouTube. Committee on my right as
Provost Robert Bissett. I'm councillor for the Falkirk North Ward and the member of the Planning Committee.
Councillor Bailey James Kerr, councillor for Lower Braes.
on my left, officers.
Douglas Blythe, legal advisor to the committee.
Jim Miller, Committee Services Team Leader.
Stephen McClure, an advisor.
Thank you. I'm Alf Kelly, councillor and deputy convener of the review committee. Have we any apologies?
Apologies from Councillor Forrest, Gordon Forrest.
Okay, thank you. And declarations of interest. For information, members should declare any financial or non-financial interest they have in any item of business of the meeting and identifying the relevant interest and nature of interest. Are there any? None.
No.
None declared. We move now to the minutes of the previous meeting. Can we agree the minutes of the previous meeting?
Agreed.
Thank you. I'll ask Mr. Bly, legal representative, to briefly explain the PRC procedures.
Thank you, convener. The procedures are at pages 6 to 10 of your papers. I don't intend to go over the procedures in detail. I outlined these at the last meeting. Suffice to say that that meeting was continued to allow further procedure, namely carrying out of an unaccompanied site inspection, and that inspection took place earlier this morning. It's still open to members to carry out further procedure if they see fit, but they should assess the papers before them and determine initially whether there is sufficient information upon which to proceed to a determination. And I'll briefly remind members that, as with any planning decision, has to be taken in accordance with the development plan, unless there are material considerations to suggest otherwise. Mr. McClure is on hand to give a summary of the application and assist with any planning policy questions. Thank you, convener.
Thank you, Mr. Bly. So we'll move to the Planning Review Committee item 5. And that's a planning application P/24/0597/FUL. Construction of 4 dwelling houses and associated development at land to the north of Daigmore in Bowness. And I'll ask the officer, Stephen, to continue.
Thanks, convener. So, as members know, the application before you today is application P/24/0597 FUL, which is for the construction of 4 dwelling houses and associated development at land to the north of Daigmore, Bowness. As I said previously, to members, there's a lot of documentation today, so I would suggest that you possibly concentrate on the officer's report of handling, which starts on page 534, and also the applicant's agent's grounds of review statement, which starts on page 16, as both those documents, all the other documents contained in the report, are relevant to those 2 documents there. Both the National Plan Framework 4 and Falkirk Local Development Plan 2 are relevant. All the policies are contained in the handling report there that are relevant. In terms of material considerations as well, there's Falkirk Council supplementary guidance and the public representation needs to be taken into account. There were 3 contributors in regards to public representation, all are noted within the documents there. On conclusion of the assessment of the application, it was considered that it did not meet the relevant policies and guidance covering the area there, and therefore it was recommended for refusal. 6 reasons noted in section 9 of the officer's report, which can be found on page 542. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. We're now going to debate on either of you guys.
Thanks, convener. I think it was useful to go to sites to get the visual aspect of the area, and considering that the land in question is surrounded. I don't know if it's surrounded by other properties, but it's certainly in a cluster of houses. I think if the new houses that's built, I think if they weren't there, I think we would have you can call it an infill, but going and having a look, I think it's an infill site, and I had a look at I noted it doing SG. Doing my phone. SG1 sets out the infill development. It can expand the cluster by more than 50%. Well, I counted 8 houses in that area, that cluster. So putting the 4 in, I don't think, well, it meets the SG1 infill. And I'm quite happy to propose that it gets passed.
We've only discussed it first, and after the debate, we'll move motion.
Okay.
No, I would tend to agree. It's a infill site. It was, as Bailey Kerr said, it was useful to visit the site and see the lie of land, if you like, in the surrounding houses. And personally, don't think these properties would be out of place up there. Were there any issues from roads at all?
Stephen, you?
That'll be contained in your handling report there, which is so in terms of the roads development, they were unsupportive of the proposed development because of the rural nature of the site and absence of footway and light provision.
But clearly there's properties there at the minute, so I'm fairly comfortable with that. I don't have any other comments at this moment in time. Thank you.
Personally, I agree. It's an infill site. I don't think they can actually. The only thing for me is the roads problem. That we're putting an extra excess egress onto that narrow road, and that is a wee bit of a problem for me. Other than that, I would be quite happy with it, actually. So, any more to add, anyone? No? Okay, then can we go to a decision then?
I propose that we approve the planning, and I've suggested one part of the reasons this G01. I don't know if Douglas can advise on it. I just think that it's an infill site, and I don't know if that's enough for it to have we can try and think of something else, but I think it's an infill site.
I agree.
I would second that. I would second what Billy Kerr said. I think it's makes good use of that gap site up there, and otherwise it would just sit there and nothing would ever happen to it. So I think it's a good proposal overall, and clearly, as I said, there's properties up there already using that road, so and no being reported difficulties.
I understand.
I'll be happy to second that.
Okay, thanks very much. And I tend to agree with everything that's been said. Only problem was the roads, and there is no evidence of any road safety issues previous to this. So I think we're unanimous on accepting that you overturn the view that.
Thank you, convener. I'm sensing unanimity from the committee. My understanding is that whilst the proposal that may be assessed as being contrary to the development plan, there are material considerations which are outweighing that, namely the opinion that it is an infill site as part of an existing residential cluster. And I also sense that we were content in terms of the scale, setting, siting and design of the proposed development. I would just flag that there is, in terms of the consultation responses, excuse me, from Education Services, a requirement for education contribution in respect of Grange Primary School and nursery provision. That's been highlighted in the report and handling, and also provisionally accepted by the applicant in their review response. So I think that would probably take us to it being amended to grant at this stage, subject to an appropriate legal agreement to capture the payment of those contributions at the prevailing rates, and thereafter completion of that agreement to remit to the Director of Police Services to issue the decision notice with appropriate conditions. I don't know if Mr McClure could highlight some of the conditions that are likely to be attached, or whether it's just a case of delegating that to the Director. I think there were several conditions that were suggested in both the report on handling and the review response, matters such as, taking a quick note of them, archaeological investigations, there was education issues, drainage issues, contaminated land, biodiversity enhancement, zero emissions, amongst others. But there would be standard conditions that would be applied. So if members are happy with that proposal, so that would be amended to grant subject to an appropriate legal agreement, and thereafter to issue planning permission subject to conditions.
Proposer and sender happy with that?
Happy with that.
Happy with that?
Just a query on the. So how many houses does it take for to get a contribution for education? Is there a minimum? Is there a minimum, Stephen? What is it?
I think at the moment it's 3 and above. I remember, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Bailey. And that concludes the business of the meeting. Thanks everybody for appearing. Thank you.
Thanks, Convener.
Good afternoon.